We want to encourage you to like our Facebook page on News Channel 5 Plus. Go to the News Channel 5 Plus Facebook page, and on there, if you like the page, you'll see what's coming up in upcoming shows. No cyberbullying there at all. News Channel 5 Plus Facebook page. And obviously what we're talking about today, cyberbullying. We have Dr. Anna Settle here, licensed psychologist. The things you're seeing coming through your door, what are some of the more challenging cases, rewarding, what are some of the things, again, that you've seen here recently that, without names, you can kind of give us some idea of what's out there?
Sure. So I'll answer most challenging first. I see a lot of young adults who are now in their 20s who experienced bullying and cyberbullying throughout childhood and adolescence, and no one was their advocate. And so now that the discussion has started to happen, they're coming in and they're finally talking about it. So they've endured years of abuse, and they're trying to work through that in their early 20s, which is a really difficult time as well. You've graduated from high school, you have newfound independence, you're trying to sort of figure out how to navigate life as an adult, and then you have all of this stuff that you're carrying with you from childhood and adolescence that has left a negative mark on you. So I would say that is probably the most challenging. When you have a child or an adolescent who walks through the door and there's been one or two incidents and caregivers are on top of that, and we're putting a stop to it and we're bringing in all of the support as it's happening, those outcomes tend to be more positive. But for those in the cohort who have experienced this in a time when it wasn't being talked about as much, they have some pretty deep-seated psychological issues resulting from that.
I bet they do, and that would be challenging and tragic.
Right.
And you said earlier, young kids, if they mention the word suicide, they should come in and see someone, right?
For sure, and it doesn't even have to be explicitly saying the word. Even passive ideation, like I wish I could go to sleep and not wake up. That's concerning.
Are there enough psychologists out there? I think it's very difficult sometimes to get in to see someone.
That's true.
And so there's a parent who hears that, and then they are confronted with just the difficulty of even getting in somewhere sometimes.
Right.
Is that right?
That's true. Oftentimes there are school counselors at school, and that could be a first line of defense. So having the student go in and talk with someone at school. And oftentimes they will have resources and can direct them to somebody who maybe has openings and can see children. But you're right. There is not enough mental health treatment. We need more.
And so what are some of the more rewarding things that you've seen?
I would say when we do have a situation where a child comes in and somebody has been their advocate and it is stopped immediately. So they've been the victim of some sort of bullying. Mom or dad or another caregiver, oftentimes even a peer, will disclose it to a parent. They might say, I read this online about your daughter, about your son. And to hear that their peers and their cohort are standing up for them, and then they come in and immediately we start talking about the effects of what happened, and we also uncover there might be some other psychological stuff going on with them, and we can work through that. And had the negative incident not happened, perhaps they wouldn't have had the opportunity to discuss some of those other things. So there have been some situations where there's been a silver lining.
And I want to reiterate the responsibility of the parent here. The responsibility of the parent, in your opinion, if you give your child a phone, and I guess I'm saying if you give your child a phone, there's a computer in your house, you don't have to give them a phone. What do you need to be doing with your child in regards to social media, just in general? What should parents understand they need to be doing?
You need to walk them through it like they have no idea what it is. You wouldn't give a kid a loaded gun. You need to walk them through exactly what is the internet, what are the possibilities, if you get on the internet, what can happen, who can contact you, what could be the consequence of that. When you're on social media and you post a picture, what are all the potential outcomes of that? So talking with them very explicitly and in a very detailed way, and monitoring it, and being open about the fact that you are going to monitor it, to say, there is no privacy when it comes to text messaging, and that might feel a little invasive, but as your mom or as your dad or as your coach or whomever it is, excuse me, that is providing the care for that person, I'm going to be present, and you'll understand at some point. And if you have questions, I'm open to talking to you about it, but there really is no wiggle room. I'm going to be present and reading the interactions that you're having.
Legally, at work, if I have a work phone, or if I'm on my work computer and I text my wife, legally work can look at that. And that, we think it's private, and certainly the kids, they would think it's private, but I think you do have to hammer that home. And maybe that is a gift that you're giving them to help them recognize that, because when they get out in the workforce, it'll be the same thing. They shouldn't expect complete privacy. And maybe the fact that they know someone, a parent, is watching, it will curtail some of the most dangerous activity. So that's what we need to try and do.
Right.
So in the final minute we have here, then we're going to put up your information here in our last segment. That's kind of the takeaway. Is that right? Just be present, be there, and make sure kids understand you're going to be following what they're doing. Is that right?
Absolutely, and don't minimize. So if you see something that looks out of line or you see as being potentially harmful, don't minimize and write it off as kids being kids, because we see the suicide rates, we hear the stories about children and adolescents who it's one post and then there are likes and comments and essentially a person completes suicide. So we know that the stakes are high, so we have to just be present and ensure that we're not allowing them any wiggle room when it comes to any sort of bullying.
That's so scary. All right, we're going to take a break. We will take the break, come back, wrap everything up. Be back right after this.